Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has expressed concern over the high civilian cost of the war in Gaza, emphasising the need for Israel to remove barriers to allow essential aid into the region. During his visit to Israel, Mr. Blinken highlighted the dire humanitarian situation and mentioned a willingness among Israel's neighbours for diplomatic normalisation. The Secretary of State dismissed claims of genocide filed against Israel at the International Court of Justice by South Africa, but he acknowledged the significant impact of the conflict on Gaza's civilians, particularly on children, urging increased access for essential goods. Despite the adversities of the ongoing crisis in the Middle East, the Holy Family Church in Gaza remained a sanctuary where divine sacraments, including First Holy Communion, continued to be bestowed upon the faithful.
On the feast day of the baptism of the Lord, observed on Sunday, January 7, 2024, amidst the ongoing challenges of Israel-Hamas war, Father Youssef, the vicar priest of the Latin parish in Gaza, exemplified unwavering commitment by administering the sacrament of First Holy Communion to 8 children who had diligently completed their preparation program. Over the past 3 months, the parish demonstrated resilience by establishing a private production room for crafting the special bread or host essential for Mass. The commitment to faith persisted, with daily Mass celebrations captured and shared on the parish's Facebook page. Remarkably, the church's walls provided refuge for the ailing, enabling them to partake in the church's sacraments on a daily basis. Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, acknowledged the enduring faith and strength exhibited by the parishioners of Gaza during his visits to those seeking shelter in the monastery. News Desk, SW News.
Bishop Raphael Thattil has been elected as the 4th Major Archbishop of the Syro Malabar Catholic Church. On January the 10th, the declaration came simultaneously to the Vatican and Mount St. Thomas, that being the Syro Malabar Church's headquarters in Kerala in India. His installation is scheduled for January the 11th at 2:30 in the afternoon Indian Standard Time. The 68-year-old cleric has been the serving bishop of the Shamsabad Diocese in the South Indian state of Telangana. Archbishop Mar Raphael Thattil is the successor of Cardinal Antony Padayara, Cardinal Varke Vitayatil and Cardinal George Alancheri, who stepped down from the helm of the church on December the 7th last year. In his confirmation letter to the new Archbishop, Pope Francis urged him to remember the poor and those most in need, and to foster the unity, fidelity and the mission of the Syro Malabar Church so that it may grow and flourish under his paternal guidance. The Syro Malabar Church, along with the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, is among the largest of the sui juris churches who make up the Catholic Church. Thousands of Christians in Nigeria's Plateau state marched in front of the governor's office, demanding action after the massacre of 200 people during Christmas time. The gathering demanded that the government provide immediate humanitarian aid and imprison those who were responsible, calling the acts genocidal and terrorist. Christian villages were destroyed, and photographs show mass graves where the dead were buried. Furthermore, the violence has displaced around 15,000 people. Christians are often targeted by terrorists on important feast days in the Christian calendar. Last year, on Pentecost Sunday, the St. Francis Xavier Owo Catholic parish in the Diocese of Ondo was attacked, with 39 Catholic worshippers being killed. According to data released by Worldometer, abortion was the world's leading cause of death in 2023, that being the 5th year in a row, surpassing all manner of infectious diseases and other causes. The Worldometer database, which tracks population health and real-time statistics, revealed that almost 44 million deaths were linked to abortion last year. This occurred despite the US Supreme Court's decision to reverse Roe v. Wade, leading to the enforcement of abortion restrictions across the United States. In 2023, the global death toll, excluding abortions, exceeded 60.6 million people. If abortion were categorised as a cause of death, the total would have surpassed 100 million, with abortion accounting for over 40% of those deaths. A group of 17 state attorneys general led by West Virginia has appealed to the Supreme Court to recognise parental rights in a case involving a Maryland school district's transgender policy. The coalition contested a case in which parents fought an appeals court ruling that denied them the right to sue Montgomery County Public Schools over a policy that permits teachers and administrators to transition children without their parents' knowledge or consent, which they argue violated their rights under the 14th Amendment. In a similar case, a Michigan couple, Dan and Jennifer Mead, are also suing their daughter's former school district. The US Conference of Catholic Bishops has released a statement in response to the Holy Father's recent remarks to the diplomatic corps concerning surrogacy. Pope Francis highlighted the ethical concerns surrounding surrogacy, pointing out that it turns an unborn child into an object of trafficking by exploiting the material needs of the mother and reducing the child to a mere product of a commercial contract. He considers the practice of so-called surrogate motherhood despicable, which represents a grave violation of the dignity of the woman and of the child. The USCCB statement said the Catholic Church firmly maintains that the practice of surrogacy is morally impermissible. Instead, the focus should be on offering prayers and actively working towards building a world that respects the profound dignity of every individual, regardless of their stage or circumstances in life. Over 6 million Catholic devotees in the Philippines participated in this year's procession to venerate the Black Nazarene, transforming the streets of the capital city Manila into a vibrant sea of maroon and yellow. The centuries-old tradition of paying homage to the black wooden statue of Jesus Christ once more drew an immense gathering of Catholics to partake in the procession. Over the past 3 years, however, the event had been cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A police estimate initially put the crowd this year at over 830,000 people, eventually swelling to 6.5 million along the 3.7-mile route of the procession. Every year on January the 9th, the life-size statue of Jesus is moved from its usual location, that being the Church of St. Nicolas da Tolentino, to the Quiapo parish in a parade through the Philippines' capital Manila. This marks the end of a novena that began on December the 31st. The US Supreme Court has allowed Idaho to enforce its strict abortion ban while the legal fight continues. This is the first time since the High Court's 2022 decision overturning Roe v. Wade that the court's order has weighed in on a state's criminal law banning abortions. Under the Defense of Life Act, anyone who performs or attempts to perform an abortion would be criminally charged. Under the Idaho law, the only exception to the abortion ban is when an abortion is supposedly necessary to prevent the death of a pregnant woman. The US Securities and Exchange Commission has ruled in favour of the Christian conservative activist group, the American Family Association, by stating that Apple cannot lawfully exclude a free speech resolution from its annual shareholders' meeting. This ruling came after the Christian group submitted a resolution that would call on Apple to investigate how the company protects First Amendment freedoms in light of its stated commitment to international standards on speech content and on censorship. In a letter to Apple on January the 2nd, the Commission's review team indicated that it cannot agree with company's opinion to exclude the proposal. Apple has faced allegations of unfairly silencing conservative and Christian voices for years. As tensions between North Korea and South Korea rise, Catholics in Korea met to pray for peace and reconciliation in the two nations. A Eucharist for reconciliation was held at the Cathedral of Seoul on January the 9th, highlighting the Church's commitment to peace on the Korean peninsula. The faithful also recited St. Francis's prayer after the Eucharistic celebration. Presiding over the celebration, Job Yobe-Koo, who is the auxiliary bishop of Seoul, said that the original objective of the Mass of Reconciliation, as put forward by Cardinal Stephen Kim, was not to pray for the change of the other, but to pray for the grace of reconciliation and unity from God. Catholics in the United States are being invited to pray a 9 Days for Life novena starting on January the 16th. This annual Respect Life novena, sponsored by the Committee on Pro-Life Activities of the US Conference of Catholic Bishops, consists of prayers for 9 successive days with the sole intention to bring an end to abortion. The pro-life novena was started in 2013 in commemoration of the 40th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, that being the Supreme Court's decision that legalized abortion throughout the United States. January the 22nd, the day when the Roe v. Wade verdict came out in 1973, is observed as the annual day of prayer for the legal protection of unborn children. Christian charity Restored has applauded the UK Home Office's scheme to fund helping domestic abuse victims to rebuild their lives to the sum of £2 million. Hundreds of survivors in England and Wales will receive the financial support to flee from abusive situations. The scheme, that commences on January the 31st this year, is set to last until March in 2025. An initial amount of up to £500, followed by a second payment of up to £2,500, will be given to the applicants to help cover essentials such as groceries, rent and other bills. The fund will be delivered through referrals from organisations, helplines and caseworkers specialised in understanding domestic abuse. Last year, the government expanded legal aid to ensure survivors face fewer barriers to receiving funded assistance in the courts. Former British Prime Minister Liz Truss has urged the UK government to take firm action after 2 British citizens were accused in the trial of Hong Kong pro-democracy activist Jimmy Lai. China has accused Bill Browder and Luke de Pulford of aiding Lai in lobbying other countries to condemn Beijing. Truss has called for immediate help for the accused British individuals and reaffirmed the UK's commitment to oppose conduct that infringes on the Sino-British Joint Declaration. She further cautioned that Beijing is worsening the issue and that the UK must respond firmly. Jimmy Lai is facing a trial under the national security law imposed by China over Hong Kong. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again tomorrow for more. And do remember, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.